What is up, folks? Welcome back to day 2 of week 2 of the Foundations of Self-Talk course with InnerLoop Sports. I am Mindset Coach Trev. Pleasure to have you here. Yesterday, we started to dive into this conversation of personalization when it comes to your self-talk. Because as we've noted previous to today, one size does not fit all when it comes to self-talk. Your personal style, your swag, your preferences, your tendencies, they need to be reflected in your self-talk. To dive into this personalization of your self-talk, we focused yesterday's conversation on 3 main questions. When does your self-talk come up? What does your self-talk sound like? What are the words, the phrases? What are you actually putting out there? And how is it delivered? Is it internal? Is it external? Is it to yourself? Is it about yourself? These are the details that are going to help us paint the picture of what your self-talk is looking like. And as I've alluded to before, the better we have an image of that picture, the clearer it is, the easier it's going to be to change and revise it. Now today, we're going to take that when, what, and how a step further by understanding how your self-talk impacts 3 specific zones. Those zones are your mind, your body, and most importantly, your swing. As we discussed in week 1, your self-talk impacts each layer. Now, how it impacts each layer, again, is personal. So we need to understand what influence your self-talk has on you specifically. Today, we're going to dive into that. The first impact zone is your mind, that 6 inches in between your ears. When you start getting lost in your self-talk, not using it intentionally or with purpose, what starts to happen in your mind? Now, stereotypically, when we get very negative and critical within our self-talk, our focus shatters. It's nearly impossible to stay present with the problem at hand. We tend to get stuck in the past or in the future. Your decision making typically gets cloudy. It's impossible almost to feel confident and committed to the choice you're making. Now, however, the opposite is also true. When you use intentional and purposeful self-talk, whether that be positive, instructional, neutral, or maybe even negative, good things tend to happen. Your focus can increase. You start to focus and pay attention to the right things, the things that matter. You become more present with your process. Confidence steadies just a bit. Your trust in yourself and in your work and in your practice starts to reappear. Now, here's the important part. Get out that journal that's come with the InnerLoop training system and start to jot down some responses to these questions. When you get lost in negative self-talk, for you personally, when you get lost in unhelpful and unintentional self-talk, what thoughts start to show up in your mind? How perhaps might you start to feel? More nervous, more confident, unsure? What comes up for you? What starts to happen to your attitude? What starts to happen to your energy levels? Jot some of these answers down. After you've captured a few good thoughts on that, I want you to flip it and think about it from the other side. When you're using really intentional and positive and uplifting and empowering self-talk, what happens then? How's your attitude and energy change? How's your focus shift? How resilient are you in moments like that? Again, start to jot down these ideas and quickly you will begin to see 2 distinct patterns. However, as we've discussed in days previous, that ripple effect doesn't stop in your mind. Negative or positive, helpful or unhelpful self-talk ripples all the way out to our performance. The second impact zone, or the second layer that your self-talk then has an impact on, is your body. After it registers in the mind, that mind fires messages out to our body, which then have some sort of consequence. Again, typically, generalizing here, when we get lost in that negative, unhelpful, hurtful self-talk, our body typically gets more tense, it gets more tight, it gets more rigid, less fluid. We really just can't be as athletic as we really are. The flip side is also true. When we engage in that uplifting, powerful, intentional, empowering self-talk, well, our bodies tends to get more relaxed, more loose, more fluid. We can be athletic. We can get out of our way and just let our natural self, our natural training take over. So get out that notebook and jot down some answers or some thoughts to these 2 questions. Question number 1, When your self-talk gets negative, when it gets heavy, when it gets unhelpful, how does that land in your body? Are there any particular regions or areas that tend to get tense and hold that tightness? Some classics are areas like the shoulders, the jaw, our hands, sometimes even our stomach. What is it for you? Do you notice anything? For me personally, it's my palms. They always get incredibly sweaty whenever that self-talk and my attitude and my mental game starts to get really headed in the wrong direction. That's how I know something's going on. Vice versa, just like we did in the first impact zone of the mind, I also then want you to jot down a few thoughts on what happens physically in your body when good self-talk shows up. By good self-talk, I mean that self-talk that's empowering, that's supporting your performance, that's fuel for focus and energy and attention. When that good stuff starts coming to the surface, when you're in your zone, physically, how do you feel then? Again, call attention to specific areas in the body that you notice that shift or that change. Do the shoulders drop a little bit? Do you walk a little bit slower, perhaps? Are you a little more relaxed? Picking out these particular elements is going to be huge in raising that awareness and allowing ourselves to work with this self-talk even more. But as always, that impact, that ripple effect, it doesn't stop there. It starts in the mind, it transfers to our body, but ultimately it gets dished out into our performance. And in the game of golf, your performance is your swing. Typically, when we get lost in that hurtful, unhelpful, negative, heavy self-talk, our swing gets tight. Maybe we don't rotate quite as much. Maybe our path gets off a little bit. Incremental differences, as you know, make a big difference in the game of golf. So even if it's minute, even if it's just a few words here that kind of nestle their way down and make a difference in how our body's showing up and ultimately how our swing's happening, that could mean a massively different outcome on the scorecard. Let's take a few minutes here. Grab that notebook, jot down just a few thoughts. When you got that good, empowering, uplifting, helpful self-talk, what's your game look like? What's your swing look like? How do you feel out there being a golfer, being an athlete? And vice versa, when that hurtful, unhelpful, negative, harsh self-talk gets back into the picture, how's that shift things? How's that change things? Do you notice you're just not quite on your game? Do you notice timing is a little off? Do you notice rotation is a little restricted? What happens? Now, this is really interesting because for all of us, it's going to be different, but we need to know what that difference is. It's only then can we do something about it. It's only then can we replace it with something that's more powerful, more helpful, and takes your game to the next level. Now, that is plenty of conversation, that's plenty of questions, plenty of thinking for today. Let's go ahead and close up here by centering in on your daily challenge. Today, I want you to get back out there and record another practice round, practice session, whatever is easiest to do. But as you record, I want you to push yourself here and I want you to talk 10 to 20% more than you typically do. Be a little more vocal with your pre-shot routine. Be a little more vocal with identifying your target, perhaps. Be a little more vocal with talking yourself through problem-solving situations or maybe intense emotions. Maybe comment and notice whenever you feel that tension in your body. Whatever it is, just toss out some more words, some more details, some more observations. All of this is going to feed into the data and give you richer insight after the round. When you do finish that round and you get a chance to look at your dashboard and see the data from today's practice session, I want you to think about and answer 3 brief questions. Number 1, what does this data tell me about my mental game? Or what's the big takeaway? What's the big insight that you can walk away with? Question number 2, what from this data do I really like and want to turn into a consistent habit? What's the good stuff? What do we want to take with us? And question number 3, what from this data do I not like and I clearly can tell is not helpful for my game? What do you want to leave in the past? What do we want to strip away and not take with us going forward? Again, this process right here, what you are doing, coming here, joining for a little bit of education, learning some different elements of self-talk, getting out there and practicing, and then reflecting on that, raising awareness is the trifecta. I mean, that is the way to really get better. And that is what this system is fully built around. So get out there, go practice, have a blast, record your session, analyze it after, answer these questions, and then, my friend, I will see you here tomorrow for another day of great work. Thank you again for everything you're putting into this, and we'll see you soon.